Lynn, I need to know what you think about what Marta said.
I think Marta has been dying to be on a winning team so she can talk her
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Good Vibes FC. I'm Sam Jonas, coming to you from the Women's Game World Headquarters in Vermont.
And I'm Lynn Williams, coming to you from the hindquarters in New Jersey.
Lynn, I have been waiting to talk to you all day. I need to show you this cute little picture of Finn in his raincoat today. Do you want to see it?
Yes, I do.
All right, everybody. If you are listening to this in a, you know what I'm going to say, audio medium, next time maybe you want to watch it on YouTube because I am going to reveal a cute little picture of my little dog in a raincoat.
My goodness. Hello.
Can you believe that?
Do you know that Croc just came out with dog shoes? So you can match your dog.
Why did you call it Croc singular?
I don't know.
Okay, Croc.
Croc.
Finn needs dog Croc he actually needs 4 Croc.
He needs 4 Croc and you need to show me.
Lynn, that's what's new in my life. It's just Finn in a raincoat. What is new in your life?
Well, I picked up my wedding dress today from the alterations place, tailor place, I don't know what to call it. But I'm so excited.
Oh my God. Wait, what can you tell us about your wedding dress? And can you tell us when your wedding is?
Well, I'm having 2 weddings, but this dress is for the first one, December 8th.
Yes.
And I can't tell you anything about the dress. The dress. I can't tell you anything about it besides that my father-in-law made it for me. This past off season, he made it. And then there was just 1 or 2 things that we weren't able to finish because we ran out of time. So I brought it with me and I took it to a tailor. And that's all I can tell you.
And now it's all ready to go.
Now it's all ready to go.
Okay. Well, in case anybody was wondering what I am wearing to Lynn's wedding, I'm wearing a purple dress.
Yes, you are.
And did you know it's actually very similar in color to my senior prom dress?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Do you still have your senior prom dress?
No, but I do think that I look just absolutely ravishing in plum.
Are you joking?
No.
Oh, good. Good.
Why would I joke about a thing like that?
I don't know. Well, Sam's a bridesmaid, so I just want everybody to know that I have nothing to...
It's like one of the proudest moments of my life.
I'm so excited. Okay, we should move on though, because I could talk about it for a long time.
I know. Well, everybody's going to have to let us know. Do you guys want wedding talk? Because I think we should just do a whole wedding episode because all I want to do is talk about Lynn's wedding. So let us know. Leave us a review, a rating. Send me an email, womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. Let me know if you like the wedding talk. Anyways, wedding aside, today on the podcast, we're going to do some soccer stuff. Portland broke the Orlando Pride win streak. We have a very special guest to tell us all about that. Plus, Lynn Williams breaks her own record. Temwa Chawinga breaks Sam Kerr's record. And Christen Press has scored her first goal back. There's lots to talk about there. Plus, we're going to give a little WSL update from across the old pond. And we got an email from Sarah with some team name puns that will knock both your socks and shin guards off. They're very, 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 very crazy.
Wild.
But first, let's get into it with Portland versus Orlando. Portland broke the entire season-long undefeated streak for Orlando. That was 23 games this season and 24 games overall. That's going into the 2023 tail end of the season. It's truly such a remarkable run, and I don't want to just take it all away from Orlando because they lost 1 game, but
the rest of the league is like, thank you, Portland.
Thank you, Portland. Never thought we'd live to see the day, Lynn, but Portland ended the party. They wrecked the party with a 2-0 win over Orlando. Sophia Smith did not play. She was out with an ankle injury. Morgan Weaver and Christine Sinclair both scored for the Thorns. They were playing at home at Providence Park. Another thing that I want to know, and Lynn, this is something we've been talking about for weeks. Orlando did not start all of their regular starters. Barbara Banda, Adriana, Emily Sams, and Marta all started on the bench. Obviously, Orlando won the Shield last weekend. They've cemented their spot in playoffs. So, I mean, what a historically successful season. Hats off to Orlando, but they came in not at full strength. Banda, Adriana, and Emily Sams did sub in the 65th minute when they were already down 2-0, and then Marta also subbed in a few minutes later. But Lynn, I want to know what you think about resting all these starters in this game.
Well, it's interesting because last week we talked about it and we were interested to see what they were going to do. Obviously, when you put out a lineup, you think whoever you put out there can get the job done. So I'm not saying that Orlando was like, oh, we're going to not try to win this game. But I do think it is, I don't know. It can go either way. It's smart to get players rest when it has been such a long season. And some of those players have also gone away to the Olympics, and maybe this is a moment for them to just take a second. But at the same time, like, now they don't have that win streak anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But do they care about the win streak, or do they care about now that they've clinched the Shield? Now they're like, well, we're just looking to playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously going undefeated the whole season would have been such an incredible accomplishment. I wonder if losing will affect their team culture or shake their confidence a little bit, or if they're just kind of like, we kind of know what happened. Sometimes a loss can teach you a lot. Orlando is still the most successful team in the league this season. They've already won the Shield. But I do think it will be interesting. It's interesting to think about how they're feeling.
Well, I definitely think Seb Hines probably like listened to our podcast and was like, you're right, we need to be battle tested and we need to lose. So I think that is probably the biggest takeaway here, is that he was like, they're right. We have to learn how to do that to go on and be very, very successful.
Yeah, probably. Hi, Seb Hines. We know you listen to every episode. I want to think about how Portland must be feeling. They were winless in their last 7 games, and then they take on Shield winners, undefeated Orlando, and they pull it off 2-0 at home at Providence Park. And then we actually had a very special caller call in to talk to us about this. You'll never guess who. It's Becky Sauerbrunn.
Thanks for letting me crash the party.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear. I want to hear all about your game versus Orlando. Like, what was Portland's game plan going in? And how much of the win do you think was tactical? Like, did you just break them down and execute your game plan really well?
That's a great question. We had fully planned to play Orlando's like top 11, you know, kind of the starters that they had rolled out throughout the entire season. So we were prepping for Barbara Banda, like how we were going to defend her. We had watched clips from the Olympics when Germany had played, so that we could like watch how some of the German defenders would kind of knock her when she was trying to make runs. And so we felt like super prepared. We were going into this game, you know, we were thinking we were going against Marta and Barbara and all these players, and all of a sudden we get the starting lineup and they're just not in it. And we're like, okay, like that's their choice. We can only play the team that's in front of us. We have our game plan. We're going to execute our game plan. Orlando still has crazy talented roster, even like beyond that starting usual 11. And so, yeah, we just kind of rolled with the same game plan, and we scored on a set piece. Weaver got on the end of a Reina redirect header from a corner. And then Sinki's goal was just like Sammy took a great touch to break pressure and then dished it off to Sinki, and Sinki at the top of the box. Like, I'm going to give that to her 9 times out of 10. And so for her to score like that, the crowd celebrating, running over to the sidelines, like it was like truly a really fun night.
Well, the goals were incredible. It looked amazing that you did this at home, that you broke this incredible unbeaten run that Orlando had been on. What was it about your team, who was coming off multiple losses in a row, what set you guys up for this in this game?
Well, we knew that we needed points, and sometimes, like, for whatever reason, the other results in the league will go your way. And we knew we had gotten lucky that some of the teams that are also in playoff contention had lost points. And we were like, nobody outside of this team thinks that we're going to get 3 points from Orlando. Like, let's do it. Like, let's kind of maybe put some distance between us and some of the rest of the teams. And so we went into it with a little bit of like, I don't know, maybe desperation. Like, we knew we needed to get some points. And we also were like, okay, we've been playing sometimes a little more negative, like we were maybe too risk adverse. And so going into this game, we're like, let's just go for it. Like, let's play forward, take touches forward. And I think that was the biggest difference between this performance and past performances, was that willingness to really take the risk to move the ball forward in a more positive manner.
Oh, that sounds really freeing. Like, I think sometimes when you're playing tight and you just want to keep it, you don't play like yourselves. You don't make that risky pass that ends up resulting in something positive. It sounds like you guys kind of broke away from that. Did this feel like a special win for the Thorns, or do you just feel like, okay, it was good to get back on track?
To me, it feels like a special win. I mean, Sammy, when the Utah Royals kind of wrecked your guys' North Carolina Courage's undefeated season, like,
this was 2018. Me and Lynn were literally just talking about this. It was 2018, and Brittany Ratcliffe scored that goal at the very end of the game.
It was a goal lasso. I actually like fell to my knees in victory. And
oh my God. In a regular season game.
I know. But it is kind of sweet, you know, like it is kind of fun sometimes to like wreck the party. And we did that. And also like the way that we hadn't won in a lot of games. We needed points. We're still, fighting for a playoff spot. So yeah, it was a special game.
Well, I am happy for you guys. I'm happy for you in particular. You had an awesome slide tackle in the 74th minute against Barbara Banda, who had recently subbed on. Can you just walk us through what defending against Barbara Banda is like?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Like I said, we had watched some clips, and so we just wanted to make sure that whoever was going up against her never felt alone. And so if somebody was kind of trying to like body up, let's have another person making like negative defending. Like if you're the person in front of Barbara Banda, turn, help back.
Yeah.
If you're on the side, come over and double team. Like it was really just do not be one-on-one with Barbara because she's going to win that. And so we were just bringing numbers over and really, we moved to a 5-back as well, probably with the last 10 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we always had an extra number in the back that could help with that. And I will say that my center back partner, Issa, she did such a great job against her too. And so I think we were all just like a lot of adrenaline and yeah, the ball bounced our way that time.
Oh, Becky, what a humble answer. It was a 6 slide tackle. I was like, yes, Becky, go. Okay, I do have to ask. So after the game, the Thorns on Instagram posted unbeaten records are meant to be broken. They said like, thanks for coming Orlando with the L in Orlando capitalized as if Orlando lost because they did. They lost. Marta comments on the Thorns Instagram. So ballsy of her. And she said, best of luck fighting for a place in the playoffs. I'm wondering if this is all fun and games, like best of luck fighting for a place in the playoffs, or is this locker room bulletin board material for the Thorns?
I will say that I did notice that comment and I did screenshot it and send it to my group WhatsApp because it is kind of fun and games. Like all the media for these teams, like they'll like kind of like banter back and forth and it's all in good fun. Would I have ever put a capital L in Orlando? Probably not. So like we definitely like started this thing, but I love that Marta responded. I think it's all fun and games. I would have been great if one of us responded and be like, oh my God, thank you so much for the support. Yeah. But I think none of us had the heart to do it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the win. Thank you so much for calling into Good Vibes this week. And as Marta would say, best of luck fighting for a place in the playoffs.
Oh my gosh, thanks.
It was so fun to have Becky on, even though it wasn't her week this week, but we just can't keep her away. Lynn, I need to know what you think about what Marta said.
I think Marta has been dying to be on a winning team so she can talk her shit. So I think that it was like such a funny like comeback. I think that sometimes in the league we need more spiciness.
Ooh.
I like fully believe in that. Respectful spicy, if you will. But I'm interested to see if that's going to fuel Portland. Obviously, they're like fighting for playoffs right now. And again, I've been on a team where you barely squeak in there and then you go on and win the whole thing. So, Martha, don't be giving other teams any juice that they don't need.
A little motivation goes a long way. Well, the Thorns are playing Louisville this Saturday in a game with big playoff ramifications. And then we'll have Becky back on Good Vibes next week to hopefully talk about the Thorns' winning streak. Let's talk about the rest of the league. Temwa Chewinga broke the single-season goal-scoring record when Kansas City won 1-0 over Bay FC. Temwa Chewinga obviously scored that goal. She scored 19 goals this season. She just eclipsed Sam Kerr's single-season record from 2019 of 18 goals. Sam Kerr did have less games. We mentioned that last week, but history does remember the winners. So Temwa Chewinga, 19 goals in a season and counting. Hats off. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and the 19th goal was absurd. I think somebody actually tried to foul her in the middle because, like, sometimes that's what you have to do. You're like, okay, foul her before she gets going. And they tried, and she just was like, nah.
She was just like, I need to score right now.
I don't know. I can't remember who it was on our team, but when we played them, somebody was trying to stop her too. And they were like, that is the strongest woman I've ever faced in my life. And I was like, and I think I see that. Like, 3 people sometimes aren't being able to stop her. So hats off to her. Like,
I know. 19 goals. It's like, that's incredible. So Kansas City stay in 4th place. They're on 49 points. They've cemented a home playoff quarterfinal. And that means that all of the quarterfinal locations have been secured. Orlando, Washington Spirit, Gotham, and Kansas City will all host the first round of knockout games on the weekend of November 9th. Utah won 3-0 on a Chloe Lacasse hat trick versus Seattle. It was the first hat trick of the NWSL season. It was the first hat trick in Utah Royals history. And Lynn, Utah are not out of the playoffs. Wilder things have happened here in the Chaos League, including last year with Gotham's incredible last-minute playoff clinch and eventual championship win. This is what you were just mentioning, Lynn. Like, you experienced this last year. So how do you imagine Utah are feeling in this moment, knowing that the dream is alive? They've got to keep going. They could clinch. They're getting a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, I think winning right now when you've had a tough year while you're also trying to fight for playoffs, kind of like Portland, when you get a big win like that, you're like, oh yeah, we have a little bit of motivation, a little bit more momentum, belief in the team. And I think it's just like, you know that your fate is in your own hands. So yes, you need things to like go your own way, but you can do it and you have the ability to do it. It's not in somebody else's court. And so I'm sure they're like super excited. I can't believe that's the only hat trick of the year.
I know.
Like, that was shocking news to me.
I know that you scored a hat trick in CONCACAF Champions Cup, but in regular NWSL League play with Temwa Chwinga and Barbara Banda, no hat tricks yet.
I know, that's what's shocking to me. I feel like we would have seen one already this year. What a stat.
Well, hats off Chloe Lacasse and the Utah Royals. Gotham beat Chicago 2-0. They were both late goals. There was a PK from our very one and only favorite co-host here, Lynn Williams, followed by a finish from Esther. Lynn, that was your 80th all-time goal. Leg sleeve Lynn, another new record for you. Every time you score, you're breaking your own record.
Yeah. Do you think somebody's going to post a graphic every time?
I think we probably will. You can count on us.
Do you know what I will say? I think it's pretty crazy, not to call out the soccer people, but
call them out.
I just think that it's kind of crazy. I think of like the NBA, I think of the WNBA, all these leagues where people are breaking scoring records, and it's like all over like Nike and Adidas or whatever the athlete's sponsor is. And in the NWSL, like, I see nothing. And I'm like, this to me is a little absurd.
So you're calling for more coverage from brands on NWSL records and players.
100%. That's all I have to say. But I'm happy we won.
Good. I'm so proud of you. I do want to know, like, I feel like despite winning league MVP, Golden Boot, despite all the rosters that you've made, despite all the success that you've had, I do feel like there have been moments where your talent and your career has like flown under the record, or like not gotten flown under the radar. And like not gotten the recognition that you have earned and that you deserve. So I'm wondering if every time you score now and you break your own record, like, does that feel like kind of vindicating? Like almost like a reminder of like, hey, everybody, like, look.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I do think, obviously I've said this before, like, I don't go out to play and think like, oh, I'm going to win all these records and I want to be like hoisted on this pedestal. But I do think that my career has been a lot of like fight. Like, I'm trying to be like, I promise you I'm like good. I promise you I'm good. And then I look at all the things I've done and I'm like, no, I have all of these stats to back it up. And so at this moment, I'm just like, again, how I got here is I believed in myself, and I continue to believe in myself every single day I step out on the field. And I think parts of my game, even though I'm scoring a lot, like, I think there's other parts of my game that are very valuable, and I think those get looked over. So I don't know. I'm just here trying my best.
Well, I can't speak enough about your defensive presence on the field and how absolutely terrifying you are when you're defending somebody. You're just so powerful, fast. You get such good pressure on the ball. You chase back on defense like you're getting paid for defensive effort.
I know. I should put that in some kind of contract.
You
like,
should.
I should get a bonus if I have to track back. Honestly, though, in Chicago, I had to track Mal back, and then I had to do it again in another moment. And I turned to Sonia and I go, I'm not doing that again. And then I like almost had to do it again. And I was like, stop it. Like, can we stop doing this? I don't want to do this anymore.
Your team is just setting you up for success, Lynn, and all the recognition that you deserve.
I don't want. But I did apparently hit a max speed post hamstring repair, which was cool.
Oh my gosh. That is such an incredible accomplishment. Can you just explain to everybody what that means?
So we wear a GPS unit in our like sports bras on our back, and it tracks all of our data, like how many Ks we've run a game, how many XLs, decels, how fast we're going, how many meters, whatever. Does all the things. And so in 2022, I had a hamstring repair. I didn't know if I would be able to come back from that, and also how fast I would be able not like in speed wise, like if I would be able to get back to my max speed ever again. And well, it's not 100% my max speed ever, but since that, 2 years later, I'm hitting numbers that are close.
Lynn, that is incredible. And just another testament to how hard you work, how talented you are, and just how everybody's worst nightmare is playing against Lynn Williams. As we said, Lynn, Gotham has the home playoff spot secured. And knowing that you also have U.S. Women's National Team camp coming up with 3 games in 3 different cities, plus an away game in Utah as your last game of the season, is it a huge relief to know that you'll be at Gotham's home stadium to start playoffs?
Yes. I think that a couple things. One, I think if any club right now historically should feel what it feels like to win, it's this club. Because they started with Sky Blue. And I want to like help the fans feel that way too. Last year we won, and then we kind of fumbled the celebration of that. So to be able to play in front of fans who have supported this team, even when it wasn't going well for so long, that is really exciting to me. Also in a familiar area, being able to sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
I think that, yes, we are going to camp, and yes, like we've done all this travel, but our team in particular has so many games that we've been playing, and I don't think enough media places are covering it, that we have played. I think we are going into our 5th week of 3-game weeks. And to think about that is pretty absurd as well. So to be able to just have one game at home that is one of the biggest games of the season, to be able to have that, sleeping in your own bed, eating the food that you eat before a game, all of that stuff, I think it's going to go a long way.
Yes. Well, home field advantage is definitely real and will come in handy for Gotham in a couple of weeks. The other game I want to talk about, North Carolina versus Angel City, finished 1-1. If you watched the first 97 minutes of this game like I did, your patience paid off. The 2 goals were scored in the 97th and 100th minutes of the game. This was so fun to watch, Lynn. In the 7th minute of stoppage time, it was the moment that we've all been waiting for. Christen Press scored her first goal back from a 2-year injury after having 4 ACL surgeries. And it was like such a beautiful, quintessential Christen Press goal. I want to listen back to the goal call.
Zellum got it wide. Press going towards goal. Press with the shot. Press! 1-0 Angel City. She's back.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I can't imagine the journey that Press has been on. And knowing Press and knowing how much she loves scoring goals, seeing her face after she scored that goal, running back and celebrating. I want to read this quote that she said after the game. She said, "Since I got injured, people were counting the days that I didn't play soccer, and I was counting the days that I didn't score. My true love is scoring. I hope it's a quintessential Christen Press goal, and I will be really proud. I can't wait to see what 35-year-old 4 ACL surgery Christen Press looks like when she scores."
Well, now we all know. Really, really happy. She looks really, really happy.
So happy and so overjoyed. And it was a quintessential Christen Press goal. Like, she received the ball, like, kind of wide of the, like, in the wide part of the right-hand side of the box. She faked and, like, cut in on her left foot and shot it far post with her left foot. And what's funny, Lynn, is just a couple of minutes before, she had a very similar ball played out wide to her on her right foot. She faked, cut inside on her left, and she shot it, but it didn't go wide enough. Casey Murphy was able to kind of like make the save. It rebounded a little bit, but it didn't go in. And then it was almost like she learned from that one, and she was just like, oh, I can do this and get the shot off. I just have to play it a little wider. And that's exactly what she did. And that's quintessential Press for me, is like learning from every rep, technically being able to fix it in the moment, and to just see how overjoyed she was to score it. Like, how do you feel watching that?
I just feel so happy for her. Anybody who's had an injury, a long-term injury, knows what it feels like to get back out on the field and do something you love. And then knowing how many surgeries she's had, how long she's had to wait, probably thinking, am I ever going to be able to play again? Am I ever going to be able to score again? Like she said, her love is scoring. And then to do it in your own fashion of like, oh, this is me. Like, I scored a goal that was so me that even if I like didn't know it was her watching it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's Christen Press. You know what I mean? Like, it was such a Christen Press goal. I just am like super happy for her. And I think watching the video, you like get all the feels. You're like, you just are so excited. I don't even know if she knew how to celebrate in that moment. She was like, oh my gosh, I did it.
I know. She's somebody who is so happy to score, but it's usually more understated than that. But the emotion that has been building up in her for 2 years, waiting for this moment to bring her back to herself, it was so emotional to watch. And Lynn, I'm wondering if you have a goal in your memory, maybe when you came back from your hamstring, or maybe when you've come back from one of your other injuries, where it really brought out that kind of joy in you and like solidified that you were back.
I don't know if I like showed it, and it wasn't even in a game, but there was a training, we were playing small-sided, and somebody passed the ball to me, and it was like up in the air. And so I chested it down and just didn't even think, and instinctually just let it settle and like volleyed it. And it went in. And I think in that moment, I was like, oh yeah, like I know how to do this again. Like my body, I can do this. But to feel like yourself in a game is, I feel like, a whole different story. But knowing Christen Press, like she has practiced that shot 1,000 times.
Exactly. Again, to me, it was like the learning from the rep before. It was like saying, here I am in this spot on my left foot and I just have to hit it wider this time. And it's like so sick that she set herself up to do it again, and so sick that she learned from the first time. I did want to share my favorite goal I've ever scored. Obviously, I'm going to take every opportunity to talk about it. I had been out injured for like much of 2018, and I was struggling. Like I felt like I was like maybe about to get cut from the national team. I wasn't even really starting for the Courage when I did come back. I had been playing for a couple of months, but when I originally hurt my knee in 2017, I was out for about 6 months and then just really wasn't myself for a while. And the Courage made playoffs, and we were playing in Portland, our semifinal, away because there was a hurricane, and we got sent to Portland to play against Chicago in our what was meant to be our home semifinal. So there was all this tension in the air.
Literally tension.
Yeah, that we didn't get our home semifinal. We're playing Chicago. Chicago was kind of like bringing it to us, but we were up 1-0, and we were like gonna win. But the clock is winding down, and I like Crystal passed me this little pass, and I had so much space, and I set myself up and I shot with my right foot, and it was probably like 30 yards out, and it was against a listener, and it somehow went in upper 90. And I remember like I didn't even really know how to celebrate because I was like, that was the sickest thing literally ever. So I kind of just stood there, but it was this moment of, I haven't done anything sick since I've been injured. And like, finally I did something that's like, I felt good. It came off perfectly and it helped the team win. And that was like the moment where I was like, okay, I can be back. And I like kind of got my confidence back.
That goal, well, I didn't know you were going through all that at that time. Maybe I did. No, I didn't. But
well, you did then. I mean, it was just that it was 6 years ago, so you forget now.
But I remember your goal specifically and being like, holy shit, Samantha Mewis, that was incredible.
I know.
So
shout out to myself. I do want to bring this back to Christen Press. I've had my moment.
Yeah, now that we've taken it away from her,
we got to bring this back to Christen Press. Luckily for me, I have a Olipop.
You already opened yours?
I just opened it. Sorry.
You didn't even cheers me. You've lost your way.
Dink. Sorry. Our Olipop gut check of the week, Lynn. What's the most magical Christen Press goal that you've ever witnessed in person?
There literally are so many. It's crazy. Yeah, I know. Pretty much all of hers are magical. But I would say the one that comes to my brain immediately is in 2020 at She Believes versus Japan. I believe there was a goal kick, and Japan's goal kick, they try to play it out. Pino intercepts it, plays to Christen, who is sitting in between their two center backs, and receives the ball, turns away from the goal, which for anybody else, I'd be like, that isn't the right way to turn. But then she just looks up, sees the goalkeeper is like slightly out, and she chipped her.
She just chipped her.
She just chipped her. And I was like, that was absurd. Absurd apparently is my favorite word today, but it was, and it was incredible. And that is my favorite Christen Press goal that I can remember right now.
That's a really good one. And I can picture that one too, which means it's definitely up there as far as magical rankings go. Mine is the 2019 World Cup semifinal against England. Press got the ball crossed to her in the box, and Press is not known for scoring header goals. And she got her noggin right on this ball and it went right in the net. And what was so special and magical about the moment was that her mom had passed away recently. And the joy, and again, like it reminds me of this joy that she just demonstrated on the field in North Carolina with Angel City. She just put her arms up to the sky and looked up smiling, like so overjoyed and so happy. And it was one of the most emotional moments I can even imagine.
Yeah.
And then our team went on to win that game, went on to win the World Cup. And it really, like, that moment was one of the most special moments along that whole journey. And I'm sure for Christen, it was one of the most special moments of her life. And she has brought us so many magical goal scoring moments that I really just wanted to use this as an opportunity to like, praise it and like highlight it and talk about it and like share how special watching her play has been to us. And I'm sure how special it's been to all of the fans that love her so much.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In the 2 years that she's been out, I'm going to say we as a fan and you and me, but we've obviously missed her goal scoring abilities, but it's not just like her goal scoring ability. It's just like the way in which she does it. I feel like any game that she subs onto, especially with the national team, you were like, oh, like Christen's going to score a goal. Like she doesn't need that much time. She's going to score. I know she is. And it's just so incredible to see her back and playing and doing that exact same thing. Obviously, she hasn't started for Angel City yet, but it's like so vintage Christen. Like
it's doing what she loves and she's so good at it. And I think that somebody being so good at the thing they love so much and it bringing such joy to other people is so rare.
I just would love to be able to see the field how she sees the field for a day.
I know. And just to look down at my feet and just be like, do this.
I know. She's like just so good. So I'm so happy that she's back. I'm happy that I've been able to be there in person to witness a lot of her goals.
I know.
But I will always be a Christen Press goal scoring fan.
I know. We all will. Well, that was our Olipop gut check of the week this week. Our most magical Christen Press goals. Make sure you leave us a comment with your most magical Christen Press goal that you've ever seen. Thanks, Olipop. We freaking love ya. There will be plenty more to come. We have to finish up this Angel City game 3 minutes after this incredible, life-changing Christen Press goal that we just detoured for 15 minutes on. In the 10th minute of stoppage time, so literally like moments later, Olivia Wingate for North Carolina Courage ruined the party and likely the playoff hopes for Angel City by scoring in the dying seconds of the game, saving the North Carolina Courage's home unbeaten streak. It was a quick turnover and then this beautiful pass in behind from Denise O'Sullivan putting Wingate in on goal. She buried it and they tie 1-1. Was Angel City just so happy for Press that they like forgot they had to finish the game? This was a big 5 moment, Lynn, and they couldn't hang in there.
I know. Probably, honestly, because their back line looked like very disjointed. Watching it back, I was like, oh no. But like that was like literally so North Carolina of them to score in that fashion. I was like, okay.
I know. I was almost like, how did we even count them out even for a second?
I know.
Angel City was probably all reminiscing about their favorite Christen Press goal in that moment. But we have to talk about something a lot less fun, but we do have to take the good stuff with some of the bad stuff. And it's really important to see the whole picture of the NWSL. So here goes. There are some new, really disturbing allegations that the San Diego Wave have created a hostile working environment for staff. Last week, 5 former staff members filed a lawsuit against the club and the NWSL. The lawsuit was filed in San Diego Superior Court, and it contains some really disturbing allegations, including disability discrimination, racial discrimination, sexual harassment, failure to investigate and prevent discrimination and harassment, retaliation, wrongful termination, amongst others. These come on the heels of allegations of a poor workplace in July from former staffer Brittany Alvarado, who was included in this lawsuit. San Diego Wave president Jill Ellis since sued Brittany for defamation after those claims were made. We felt it was important to alert our listeners to this. If you want to fully verse yourself in this situation, I recommend the Defector article by Diana Moskovitz and Leslie Ryder that fully details the claims listed in the lawsuit, including one very serious and terrifying claim of sexual assault. Obviously, it's really difficult to speculate on an ongoing lawsuit, but I do want to say that I think this is a reminder of how important accurate and fair reporting structures within NWSL teams are. Looking back at the misconduct that came to light in 2021 following the Yates report that detailed the extent of abusive behavior and sexual misconduct that was then occurring in the league, it was a shock and wake-up call for the entire NWSL, and the anti-harassment policies that followed are paramount for the league to continue to succeed. And the NWSL said as much about this situation. According to the article, the NWSL spokesperson responded with a comment: "The safety, health, and well-being of everyone associated with our league is our highest priority. We take serious any and every report of potential misconduct, hire qualified and independent investigators to review these allegations thoroughly, and act when allegations are supported by the facts uncovered. We will not comment specifically about an active legal matter." Like I said, this is an ongoing lawsuit, so we will keep you updated in the weeks to come as further updates are made available. I think we can all agree that everyone deserves a safe place to work. It's a huge responsibility to manage, to lead, and to make sure that the workplace is a safe environment. And my hope is that the people in those positions of power take that responsibility really seriously. All right, let's move on to some WSL updates from this past weekend.
Hi, everyone. It's Sam from the future. Well, actually, it's more like Sam from present day, but it's Sam from the future of when the rest of this episode was recorded yesterday. This is such breaking news that I'm reporting on it from my car. When we taped this episode, Lynn and I had a really good conversation about Arsenal's poor form to start this season and what they were going to do about their manager, Jonas, who many people have been calling on to be fired after a really dismal start with just 1 win, 2 draws, and 1 loss so far in the league. This morning, Jonas resigned. So I'm going to read to you from Arsenal's statement. Sporting director Edu Gaspar said, "We thank Jonas for his commitment to the club and achievements here since joining us in 2021. We have great respect for the dedication and commitment he showed to our women's first team and recognize the role he's played in the growth and development of Arsenal women. We all wish him the very best for the future. Our focus will now turn to the process of appointing a new head coach, and in the meantime, supporting Renee Slagers as she takes interim charge of the team, starting with 2 important fixtures this week." So Eidevall had been with Arsenal for 3 years. His only trophy wins were in 2 league cups, which isn't exactly the equivalent of the Challenge Cup, but it's kind of similar. And obviously, the goal for Arsenal is to compete for the league title. And in the 3 years that Eidevall was in charge, Arsenal just kept falling short of that. This season, starting out with just 1 win, 2 draws, 1 loss in the league, and a really tough loss in Champions League against Bayern Munich 5-2, it just really isn't good enough as far as Arsenal are concerned. This is a league where Chelsea literally won on goal difference last season, so every point truly does count. So Arsenal's bad start and lack of serious silverware wins in the past few seasons is really important in this situation. Eidevall's resignation is a huge move, and it's something that's obviously going to affect Arsenal's season, but I'm sure also change the way the fans and the players approach the rest of the year. It's so early in the season that this is going to be a huge storyline to follow and something we'll definitely have our eye on in the weeks coming. So now we're going to travel back to the past and update you on what happened this past weekend between Arsenal and Chelsea. Lynn and I do talk about what might happen with the Jonas Eidevall situation. And again, this was before this news of his resignation came out. But I think that the conversation is still interesting and gives the situation a lot of context. So we're going to leave it in. So enjoy listening. And here we are.
Chelsea beat Arsenal 2-1 on Saturday morning. And Lynn, Arsenal's had a pretty poor start to the season. In regular league play, they're 1-2-1 on the season so far. They're sitting in 6th place with just 5 points. And this past weekend at Emirates Stadium in front of almost 46,000 people, Arsenal lost 2-1 to Chelsea. They're rivals to try to win the league. Year over year, Arsenal has been falling a little bit short, and to drop points against Chelsea this early in the season and to drop repetitive points is a really big deal. So Chelsea went up early 2-0 with goals from Myra Ramirez on a loopity-loop overhead kick in the 4th minute, and then a second goal after Lauren James crossed a ball to wide open Sandy Baltimore, the brand new Chelsea signing who's joined this summer from PSG, who headed it home easily in the 16th minute for her first Chelsea goal ever. This series of events quickly has put Chelsea up and is leaving Arsenal to fight back from a 2-goal deficit. I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to go down 2-0 early in the game.
Yeah.
Does it seem insurmountable that you would have to then score 3 goals to win? How does it feel in that moment?
I think in the moment, obviously depending on when the goals come, but you're like, well, that is not the start that we were looking for.
Yeah.
And I think you quickly have to come together as a team and say, okay, obviously that's unfortunate, but we need to somehow climb out of this hole. This reminds me of last September, Gotham was playing against North Carolina, and we were down 2-0 at the half. And we go into halftime and everybody's kind of like, what the heck is going on? We know we're better than this. And we ended up coming back out, scoring a goal. North Carolina scored a goal again. So now it's 3-1. And then we ended up scoring 2 more goals. So it ended up being 3-3. In those moments, you're like, well, obviously we were better than we showed today and we could have won, but we're fine with getting a point and like escaping this without losing. But I think that when you come together as your team, you have to just think, get 1 goal. Arsenal should not start thinking now we have to score 3 goals to win. You're like, no, you have to start with 1 goal. So what do you guys need to do to stop the bleeding and just score 1? And then you get some momentum that way.
That's a great point. I think, yes, Arsenal was kind of asleep at the wheel for the first 20 minutes of this game. They let 2 goals in, but it starts with 1. And we always talk about how being up 2-0 is one of the most dangerous scores to be up by because 1 goal changes everything so quickly. It's not an insurmountable hill to climb. So whenever our teams have been up 2-0, I feel like we're always saying we need to get more and solidify it. Arsenal gave it their best shot. Caitlin Ford got a goal back for Arsenal from virtually no angle. Almost at the end line, she was up 1-on-1 against Lucy Bronze. She got by her, she shot and it went in. It went off the back post and in. And then after the half, Stina Blackstenius blasted one off the bar to nearly pull the score even. But again, this season, Arsenal just seemed like they're playing on the back foot. It really hasn't been good enough. They lost at home to Chelsea. Again, 1 win, 2 draws, 1 loss in regular league play. Plus, they're coming off a Champions League loss to Bayern Munich. Not a good start. And this has prompted lots of questions. And there's lots of pressure on their manager, Jonas Eidevall. Such a poor start to their season. You might remember Jonas Eidevall from when we reported on a spat between him and Emma Hayes late last season. He's been the manager at Arsenal since 2021. Lynn, it's only 4 games in.
Yeah.
They have lost a Champions League game. The momentum doesn't seem to be positive yet. Is it too early for the club to start talking about making a managerial change? He's been with the team for 3 years, and he's really not gotten the results that the club would have wanted. They've won 2 league cups. Which is like not exactly the equivalent to the Challenge Cup, but like kind of is. Is this too early? Like, what should Arsenal do?
Well, I do think it's like an interesting question. First of all, I want to say that sports in general, it's ruthless. Like,
true.
It's a cutthroat world out there. And I think some managers or some GMs and owners, they look and they're like, okay, we're going to wait this out a little bit and see what happens, because there is a world in which you just have a slow start and then you come back and you're fine.
Yeah.
History shows us that isn't necessarily what happens at Arsenal. So you're like, how long do you wait? Because at some point it's going to be like too far gone and you can't come back from it.
Right.
Or are you like, no, we've played 5 games that we're done. And is that like too little of games? Like I'm not sure. What do you think?
Well, in a league like the WSL, which, again, last season came down to goal differential between Man City and Chelsea because they were tied on points, Arsenal can't drop points like this. And so you're saying, should you give him more time? And I think the answer in the WSL is you can't afford any more time. Like, at this point, if Arsenal wants to contend for the title, they can't afford to drop even 1 more point if they want to compete with Chelsea and Man City.
I also think, like, looking at their roster, at the roster that they have, they should be doing much better than they are doing. So what isn't clicking?
Some are saying the manager, some are calling for him to be fired. I've been interviewing a lot of these girls recently. I've had Beth Mead on the show. I've had Leah Williamson on the show. I've had Alessia Russo on the show. Arsenal seems like an awesome place to play. And so my hope for them, they talk so lovingly about the fans, about playing at Emirates Stadium, about the culture of the club being really good. My hope for them is that it's a bad spell, that they can dig themselves out, that they can get some wins under their belt. They have more opportunities in Champions League this week to right the ship. They'll probably still get out of their group. And it's a long season. You never know what's going to happen. So is Jonas Eidevall under a lot of pressure right now? Yes. Are the players under a lot of pressure to right this ship? Yes. But it's a huge club. These players are really experienced. And I think we just have to wait it out and see what happens.
I agree. Sometimes I think it's one of those moments, and I've talked about this like with myself, the first World Cup that I was trying to make, where I was like, I wanted something so bad, I was squeezing it so tight, and then you play tight. And I wonder if they all just like relaxed a little bit,
that it would bounce their way better. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Well, this actually brings me to something else in the WSL. It's something that Pat, my husband, and I have been reacting to for the past couple of weeks as we've been watching Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City play in the Women's Super League. And it's that there's so much talent on the bench. So in this Arsenal-Chelsea match, on the bench for Chelsea included Scottish midfielder and phenom. I like to think of her as a Harry Potter character, Erin Cuthbert. She's just magical on the ball. She's like a little wizard out there. American number 9, Kat Macario, who sadly missed the Olympics this summer with the U.S. women's national team due to a lingering knee issue. And then other really, really good players, Aggie Beaver-Jones, Ashley Lawrence. We see incredible players in the WSL sitting on the bench almost every weekend. There's also Chloe Kelly, Lionesses star. She scored the game-winning goal in the Euros in 2022, the tournament-winning goal. She's been not playing for Man City. And so, Lynn, last week you and I were talking about salary cap and parity in regard to the NWSL. But this week I kind of want to bring it back up about parity in the WSL. Like, salary caps incentivize all clubs to compete. When there's such impressive talent sitting on the bench for these top WSL teams, do you think the league needs to intervene and incentivize talent to spread out more? So all those players that we just named are on the field instead of on the bench, just playing for a wider variety of teams.
I don't think that the league needs to intervene, because I think that as a player, you want to play for the best club. And something that comes with that is amazing training. And so if you're somebody who's one person on a team that doesn't have the support around you, are you getting better? Are you able to show what you can do? I think there's a lot more that goes into it than just, we need to diversify.
I think that's a really good point. So, for example, somebody like Kat Macario doesn't necessarily want to go play for one of the lower teams in the WSL because the training environment isn't as good. Let's just be blunt. It wouldn't be as competitive as it is at Chelsea. I just feel like it's difficult for fans to not get to watch these incredible players. And it's obviously difficult for those players who, yes, are in a great training environment, but aren't playing at the weekend and aren't maybe getting the reps that their national team requires. And I'm wondering, in the NWSL, would we see a U.S. women's national team starter or a U.S. women's national team player sitting on the bench for their club team?
I think that we have a little bit, and we are going to start seeing that more. I think that as our league has started to grow, and I said this last week, I'm so excited to see how the NWSL is transitioning to yes, we are a transition league in the style of play, but we are now having to have different game plans and different tools. And I think that that's exactly what you're going to see is sometimes U.S. women's national team players aren't going to be starters, or they're not going to start on the weekend for whatever. You're going to have rotation going on. And so I do think you're going to see that more and more in this league. I think it's going to be very exciting to watch and also frustrating as somebody who's maybe used to that.
I think this parity question is so interesting to me, and it's something that I'd like to touch on again as the WSL season goes on. Okay, as we talked about last week, Champions League group stage games are going on. Some notable results from last week. Man City beat Barcelona 2-0. This was surprising because Barcelona almost never lose. As good as Man City is, as much talent as they have, I think that this was still a really huge matchup, and to see Man City win like this was a huge deal. It also begged the question, could Barcelona run the table the way they do if they were in the WSL?
I'm not sure. I think that, first, I think we have to note that they have a new manager. True. So I'm going to assume that they are learning a different style of play, a different system. I don't actually know, but I would assume they would be learning a lot of new information, maybe new terminology. But I think the more you're battle tested, I said this before, you just have an ability to, if somebody throws something at you, let it be a new formation or physicality or anything, you're just okay, we can weather this storm. We know how to adjust, and we can fight back from that and kind of dig ourselves out of that hole. I know I mentioned this before, but I just go back to that North Carolina game where we were shit, like this is not going well. But in the past, we've already done that. We've been battle tested. And so I think when you're in a league that you don't get all of that all the time, it could be a detriment. At the same time, I'm like, just everybody relax.
It could have just been a fluke.
Yeah. What do you
Totally.
think?
Man City's a great team. Like sometimes the tables turn and there could be a new Champions League winner this year, and that could be Man City. So like we could overreact and say, yeah. Barcelona has lost their way. But like time will tell. There's more Champions League games coming up. It was a really exciting game to watch, and I had people on the side being like, if this is the Champions League final, like we are in for such a treat because Man City Barcelona is an incredible matchup. Chelsea beat Real Madrid in Champions League 3-2. More Brits beating Spaniards. But the Germans stopped the English party as Bayern smashed Arsenal 5-2, which we mentioned earlier. This Wednesday, Arsenal will try to right the ship against Vålerenga, while in Group D, Man City are facing St. Polten and Barcelona face Hammarby. Another big game, Wolfsburg and Lyon are playing on Thursday. All of these Champions League matchups are available on DAZN, and you can also follow along on social media with Women's Game MIB, as we'll be covering them. I have to say, it's a real joy to get to watch an awesome soccer game at 3 p.m. on a weekday. So everybody else should just treat themselves and just watch it with me.
They're like, Sam, we have work.
I'm like,
I'm working too.
Okay, let's go to the inbox, Lynn. We got a really funny email from Sarah that has something really incredible in it, so I'm going to read it to you, Lynn.
Okay.
Sarah says, hello, good vibes. I just had my first ever organized soccer game at the ripe young age of 31. I joined NYC Footy, which is an adult co-ed rec league, and so far, highly recommend. I was delighted to find out they assigned teams names based on puns, mostly off of player names. I include at the bottom all the names, but wanted to highlight a few that I think are particularly great. Are you ready for this, Lynn?
Yes.
Stop and Lavelle the Roses. Pew's Clues. Haran Heard a Who. Dun and Dunner. Rapino and Juliet, Dabinia's Inferno, The Musketeers, and finally, William's Dollar Baby. Very clever.
Those are clever.
Lynn, what's your favorite?
William's Dollar Baby.
I know,
obviously.
it's so good. I do love The Musketeers. It's really, really fun, but the one that made me laugh was Dun and Dunner.
I like Pew's Clues too.
Pew's Clues is really, really cute. Sarah, I literally love this so much. Sarah also included like 20 more pun names that I would have loved to read out. But unfortunately, we babbled a lot today and we ran out of time. So if anybody wants to contribute to this show, write me an email, send us questions to answer during this segment.
Tell them the question we want.
What? We want somebody to ask us about what Mario Kart characters we are. So the first person to send me a Mario Kart question, you'll get your question read on the podcast next time Lynn is on. You can send me an email, womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. Ask us a Mario Kart question. Also ask us other questions because I scan all the emails and I pick out the best ones, so I'm reading them. Okay, everybody, this is it. It's the end of the episode. Lynn, what good vibe do you want to leave our listeners with this week?
Okay, my good vibe is I've been traveling a lot, as you guys know, and I'm going to go take a nap. And then when I wake up, I'm going to feel really good. So if you're a little tired, go take a nap.
Okay, that was wonderful. My good vibe, I think, is just that it was raining today, and Finn was really wanting to go on a walk, so I just raincoated up and rain booted up, and I just took him, and it was actually lovely and really, really fun, and I'm glad we went for a walk together in the rain.
That's lovely.
Okay, that is it for this week's episode of Good Vibes. I really hope that you are subscribed, please, to our podcast feed, to our YouTube channel. You can turn on notifications. You can also leave us a little, what's the word? You can leave us a little cheeky rating and review.
Yeah.
Tell us how you like the show on your podcast app. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe right now, you pumpkinhead. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. You know the drill. You can also follow along with us on social media at Women's Game MIB. Coming up later this week, we have an interview with Emily Fox. And we asked for fan questions for Emily Fox, and literally everybody wanted to know about her skincare routine. And I'm telling you all right now, we got it. She also tells us about her experience in the Arsenal locker room and the U.S. Women's National Team's gold medal summer. You do not want to miss it. That episode is coming out on Thursday. All right, everybody, we're going to let you go now. Goodbye.
I'm a sleepy Lynn Williams.
And I'm Sam Lewis, and this is Good Vibes FC. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.